Dude, it's finally here. The world finally gets to play Monster Hunter World, and I gotta say, this game is ridiculous. And that's a good thing, trust me. I had a great time playing this today. Currently, I put about 5 hours or so into the demo build. It features 3 missions across 2 maps. The missions are split into 3 difficulties: beginner, intermediate, and expert. The beginner has you fighting a Great Jagras, medium has you fighting a Baroth, and advanced has you fighting the Nostradamus, aka Anjanath. Great Jagras isn't really that interesting because he's just ridiculously easy. Certainly a beginner monster, and he's usually dead within 3 or 4 minutes if you know how to play. The Baroth is your typical Baroth fare, and Anjanath's nose sometimes goes all inside out, but the game handles the levels as legitimate ecosystems. These aren't the only monsters in the maps, and in Ancient Forest, for example, there's a Rathalos flying around. And in the Wildspire Waste, there is a Diablos and this weird mud salamander that looks like a Vasioth, but he's caked in mud. He's honestly kind of a disappointment. But I think my favorite monsters to fight, just from the demo and what's available, are the Anjanath and the Diablos. Diablos is certainly not a quest requirement to kill, but he's wandering around. He's the apex monster of the Wasteland. And the Diablos fight is actually really pretty tough, even with a skilled group. It's hard to bring that sucker down because he just has so much health and we have, preset equipment. But it's satisfying as hell. It's so satisfying to bring him down and see him actually die. It really requires you to take advantage of everything at your disposal, from using what are essentially sonic bombs fired from your little hand-mounted crossbow, more on that later, all the way to using these explosive flash bugs that are just littered throughout the environment. I think the part that surprised me the most is just how awesome it is to see monsters throw down and fight each other. This happened the most, I think, with the Rathalos, I feel. But earlier on when I was streaming today, or yesterday, depending on when this video goes up, I saw Diablos beat the snot out of a Baroth. It was freaking amazing. And then the Rathalos will come down in the forest level. The Rathalos will come in and pick up the Anjanath and slam him on the ground. And then the Rathalos isn't around. Sometimes the Great Jagras will come in, and he'll try to step toe to toe with Anjanath, but Anjanath usually just creams him. So what you're seeing now is me with a group of 2 other hunters going through a couple of missions and just messing around. We ended up killing Diablos, but we had less than a minute left. It was such a very close and intense fight, but the important thing is I loved every single minute of it. The weapons all feel awesome. They feel great. I actually think my favorite weapon so far is the Greatsword. It feels a little bit faster to me, almost like a mixture between the Monster Hunter Online Greatsword and the traditional Greatsword of past games. I used almost every weapon. I didn't get to a couple of them. I also enjoyed the heavy bowgun and a switch axe, though, and of course the dual blades. Everything feels very fluid, much fluid than previous games in the series, and I think that this game certainly encourages equipment diversity because of the retooled weapons. Not only because of the retooled weapons, but because of the armor equipment and how easy it is to piecemeal together sets. Every piece of an armor, whether it's like gloves or a helmet or something, has different skills on it, so it's quite a change from the normal, system. Also, you have these mantle things too. The Ghillie Mantle is probably my favorite because it makes you vanish from the monster's sight. It just poof, you're gone. And this is helpful if you're being cornered, so you could get away and heal and whatnot. I also used a Rocksteady Mantle because it said it would make me immune to things like roars and tremors, which, I hate roars and I hate tremors, so it seems right up my alley. But it also makes you not get knocked back from attacks, so that was kind of a surprise. It messed me up and ended up having me take more damage than I anticipated. But needless to say, I'm loving the changes to the weapons. I don't really have an opinion about the armor skills yet, because honestly, I like the old system. But I absolutely love the weapons. You get to pick from a few pieces of armor for your cat as well, which is pretty cool. The cats are so cute. They're so freaking cute in this game. I can't get over it. Oh, and you can also finally hide your helmet. This is such a great addition. They had it in Monster Hunter Stories, so I was really happy to see that you could hide it here as well. I mean, come on. Geralt here does not need to wear a helmet. So the maps in general, they are astounding. Specifically how detailed they are. I was really impressed with this. Just in awe at how good these maps look and sound and all the little details in them. The game, quite frankly, is beautiful. I mean, look at it. The maps are giant, interwoven, and they're just really fun to explore. Specifically the Wildspire Waste. I think Wildspire Waste is way better than the Ancient Forest. That's personal opinion. I'll get into that a little bit later. Now, usually I'm not a fan of the desert levels, But this is more than just a desert. It's like an entire ecological marvel, an entire ecosystem with different portions of the map having different characteristics. Like, sure, there's sandy dunes in this corner with giant spires in the background, but there's also swampy areas and fields of flowers and, you know, caves. You go underground in these caves, and hopefully you don't run into the Diablos down there, because that's where it spawns. There's all this ambient wildlife, too. Like, there's these little lizards that skitter away when you get close. And there's birds that will occasionally plop in front of you when you're fighting. And then you accidentally shoot them with your bow and arrow, and then you feel bad. Hell, you could even capture the smaller creatures with this net thing. Speaking of which, the R-mounted crossbow. This is basically how you throw items now. It's super cool. You can load things into it that you find in the environment, like you can find like stones and plants or nuts or whatever, and you could shoot them at things. But you could also use it to fire things like sonic bombs and the status knives. So you start every mission with poison and paralysis knives, and you could load them into your crossbow and throw and, you know, launch them at monsters. And it's handy too because you can lock onto these monsters so you don't actually miss. There's pretty much no excuse to miss now. Now, I do think there are a few things that could be improved, or just some really small things that bothered me. So the monsters move around the map and leave clues, and then your scout flies will go and pick up the scent and lead you to them. You know, monster hunter. That's the hunting part of it. That's fine, but I couldn't really figure out how to switch my scout flies to another monster. And this is really annoying because, say I want to hunt the Diablos that's in the Wildspire Wastes, but my scout flies are always locked onto the quest objective monster, the Baroth. Now, I don't give a crap about the Baroth. I want to hunt the Diablos because the Diablos is the funner of the two monsters to fight. So, you know, it's kind of annoying, but luckily the Diablos isn't that hard to actually find and track because he just digs underground. You can follow his trail. Now, this is amplified to a very frustrating level in the Ancient Forest. And this map, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of this map. The edges of the map are fine, but once you kind of get into the center, it's filled with all these twisted corridors and has all this verticality. And I kind of find the verticality frustrating because there's multiple floors on the same spot, and it's hard to find a pathway up to the upper floors if you're not super familiar with the level. So when I was trying to find the Rathalos, I could not for the life of me figure out how to get up towards its nest. And then when I finally got to the top and I was fighting the Rathalos, everything was fine. He flew away, and then I had a hard time finding where he even went because there's all these multiple floors. It may be because I'm unfamiliar with the map, and I get that, but you don't really get this kind of problem in the Wildspire Wastes, which, as I said before, I think is just a beautifully designed map. It has great flow to it. Although I will say that the moment that the dam breaks in the Ancient Forest, I was freaking out. We were balls deep in hunting this Rathalos, right? And suddenly there's just water everywhere. It's like, oh my god, what is happening? It was really just the highlight of the hunt. A similar moment happens in the Wildspire Waste when the Diablos decides to show up. I'm not going to spoil that, but it's a little bit spook if you're not prepared for it, I will say that. Another quick note, I'm not a huge fan of the target lock on camera either. This honestly might just be because of habit from playing the older games, but it's way too hard for me to control. I feel like it's too sensitive because I would frequently switch the lock on between different monsters and on accident, and it would really just kind of screw me up. So I've just been playing with it turned off. I hear there is an option to change how it works in the options menu, so definitely have to check that out. Another thing I'd like to see improved, and I doubt this is actually going to happen, but the frame rate on the original PS4, which is what I have, it definitely runs a bit under 30 most of the time, I feel like, or it has some sort of frame pacing issues. I'm going to have to see what Digital Foundry says about this. But if anyone could let me know how it runs on the PS4 Pro, that would be sweet. Just leave a comment down below. Now, this isn't a huge problem because, you know, admittedly, once you get into the swing of things, once I was in the middle of hunting all these intense monsters, I was more focused on trying not to die than to care about a couple of frames. But it would be nice to see it at a nice solid 30 on the original PlayStation. If anything, this kind of makes me more excited for the PC version, where I can take advantage of my 144 Hertz monitor. So that's it for this video. This is just a quick little impressions thing with my initial thoughts. Are you guys participating in the demo? Let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all in game. Happy hunting. Peace.